Why do people overeat? Actionable and joyful ways to heal from overeating. Interview with Bracha Goetz. Do you struggle with overeating? You're not alone. Many people find themselves turning to food as a way to cope with inner emptiness or stress or simply out of habit. However, overeating can take a toll on both your physical and mental health, leading to feeling of guilt and shame and frustration. So would you like to learn some actionable and joyful ways to heal from overeating? Then stay tuned. Our guest today, Bracha Goetz, will share some practical strategies and tips for overcoming eating in a way that is both effective and enjoyable. And you are watching Happy and Healthy Mind program episode number 108. And thank you, Bracha, for joining us today.
Thank you so much. That was fantastic introduction.
So, Bracha Goetz is the Harvard educated author of 41 books that help children's souls shine and a candid memoir for adults about overcoming food addictions joyfully. She helps people live genuinely fulfilling life. And I'm your host, Dr. Rozina-Happy. I help compassionate high achievers continue to achieve more, earn more, and make the impact they're meant to make without burnout and without losing their health or career. I'm an executive coach, a corporate speaker, and an integrative psychiatrist. I believe that your mind is the software that runs the hardware of your brain and your body. Therefore, we share practical tips for your mental fitness here. If you need specific medical advice, please consult your healthcare professional. If you find this content helpful, then join our mission of eradicating preventable suffering by liking, subscribing, and sharing so more people can live and perform at their best with hope, health, and happiness. And so let's learn from our guest. So, Bracka, tell us, how did this topic become important in your life?
I began to gradually develop food addictive behavior. I'd say disordered eating. It began in my teen years when it became so important to be thin. And I basically got very into restrictive dieting.
Hmm.
And then that fluctuated with uncontrollable binge eating. So I was doing one or the other. And from the outside, you could not tell how I was suffering. I wasn't obese and I wasn't emaciated. So you could not even see how I was suffering. And it became like a prison that was getting smaller and smaller as this addiction took over my intellectual abilities, my emotions, my energy. It begins to control your entire life. That's what an addiction is like. So that's how I suffered. And that's how I was searching desperately for how to heal from the food addictions.
So, and we're going to learn some tools and tips today from you. But once you applied those tools and tips, how did your life change? How did you go get on the other side, and does life look different on the other side?
I think the best way to describe how different it looks is that the world actually turned gray. That's how it felt to me when I was in active addiction. And what's changed from healing is that the colors have returned to life. I can appreciate life. I can trust again in the world. I can trust in myself and I can trust in the ultimate goodness of the world. This is a tremendous change because when I was suffering, I was becoming more and more cynical, feeling ashamed, like feeling guilty, just feeling really miserable. And the thing that I think runs these addictions is a sense of scarcity, a feeling like you don't have enough pleasure in your life. So with eating, it's obvious. When I'm eating something and it's pleasurable, I'll just keep going if I feel that I don't have enough other pleasures. But once you develop a sense of abundance, about all the pleasures available in life, the whole perspective has changed from a sense of scarcity to a sense of abundance.
Wonderful, wonderful. Yeah, our audience would love to learn how you did that. How did you make that journey? So, teach us some of the tools that helped you.
Thank you so much. What I am loving to share about this is from ancient mystical wisdom. It is not from the top of my head at all. So this is ancient wisdom that I finally learned. It's called the pleasure ladder. There is 5 levels to the pleasure ladder, and the 5 levels correspond to our 5 fingers. In other
Mm,
words, it's within our hands, it's within our own power to bring pleasure into our lives at any moment. That's what completely changed this understanding. And these 5 levels, they also correspond to the 5 levels of the human soul. So it's universal. The lowest level of the soul is the part that's connected to our body. So all the physical pleasures, the natural physical pleasures in this world, they when we experience them, they are designed to fill us with pleasure and uplift us with gratitude. When we experience gratitude, enjoying a natural physical pleasure, that's what fills our soul. That's what fills the emptiness inside of all of us, the emptiness that gets us to just keep stuffing our faces. It's a hole, and we think we can fill it with externalities, but the hole gets deeper and deeper as we finish the big bag of potato chips. It just gets bigger. But when we eat, like for instance, a whole food, like an orange, if we eat this with mindful gratitude, it's a totally different experience. Like I just just taking this one example, it comes with a peel. It keeps the sweet juiciness in for months. It's individually packaged like this. And then it's green. All the fruits are green. They're camouflaged in with the leaves until they're ready. And then they become bright and beautiful. They're calling to us, "We're ready." This is how they become so beautiful. And once you finish the orange, inside are the seeds of eternity. The 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 they the seeds become an infinite amount of trees. They become an infinite amount of oranges. So you compare this to an orange flavored tangy taffy. Even the wrapper pollutes the environment. The junk food like that is designed to be delicious and addictive, while the natural foods are designed to be delicious and nutritious. Totally different. They're not designed with greed, they're designed with loving kindness and infinite wisdom to fill us with gratitude. So the lowest level are all the physical natural pleasures. It's eating these healthy foods, it's being in nature, it's moving, it's dancing, it's swimming, it's yoga, gardening, music, all these wonderful things that are designed to be sensual pleasures. And higher than that is love. And love, you'd think, how could that be empowering? It's dependent on someone else. But in this ancient mystical definition of love is focusing on the virtues of another. So even in prison, even in the prison of an addiction, just picture a person in solitary confinement. They could focus on the virtues of a grandmother that once did a kindness for them, and they will be uplifted. They will have a warm emotional feeling that can inspire them to become a better person. So love is completely, it's within our own power to bring it into our lives at any moment by focusing on another's virtues. It could also be a pet. It's another being. So
mhm,
initially we're focused on a thing, then we're connecting to another being.
mhm,
Each time it's getting larger, because when we're in an addiction, It's a feeling of estrangement, loneliness, boredom, anxiety, depression. We begin to connect in gratitude to the outside world. This is how we heal,
Mhm.
recognizing there's an abundance of ways, right?
Mhm.
So, natural physical pleasures, love, even a more lasting pleasure is meaning.
Okay. And before we move on,
Yeah,
let me just ask you
sure.
some questions that are coming up in my mind. So, number one, you were talking about the physical pleasures. Now, many times people start eating more because they are fulfilling that physical pleasure. So, how do you differentiate between the physical pleasure of overeating versus physical pleasure that is kind of treatment for that overeating?
Excellent question. Excellent. It's very rare. You're just not going to sit down and eat a bag of oranges. They're made in a way, they have the fiber, the nutrients, the water content, and the sweetness, all these good things that fill us up. But you could eat a bag of potato chips easily. You could finish off a whole tub of ice cream. It's not designed, in other words, it's got abnormal amounts of sugar and fat and salt. It's purposely in there to create an addictive response from us. These things are made out of greed. For us, they want us to become addicted to these types of foods, but that's not what
So then they
happens.
can sell more.
Exactly. That's how it
Well,
goes.
yeah. So again, clarifying. So there are certain foods that can put you at higher risk of overeating. And
Yes.
then there are certain foods that actually decrease that risk of overeating.
Beautifully put. Beautiful. Exactly. And when we fill our souls up, when our souls are filled up, we we don't have that need. When we are feeling full of gratitude, we don't feel like overeating. It's just amazing how it happens. That's just
Mhm.
the way it works, you know?
Okay.
So
So let
it's
me just kind of be a person who is struggling with overeating. Okay. So what would you say, how do I go from overeating to suddenly start using this pleasure ladder? First, I have to recognize that I am having this issue, right? So let's kind of talk a little bit about why people overeat, and how does this problem become a problem. One thing you identified is our environment, the way the foods are made, especially the sugary, snacky foods that are made, that has promoted this overeating. Well, why do one person overeat and another person does not when they have the same food in front of them?
exactly. Well, there's other factors as well. Because let's say in childhood, you were rewarded for good behavior and given candy. You get in the habit of thinking, this is going to comfort me. This is my reward in life. Instead, recognizing you're not, one of the favorite lines people say is, I deserve this. I deserve it. Well, you deserve junk. No, you're this awesome person. If you really recognize you deserve good stuff that's going to help you to be healthy, have more energy, live a longer life. It's a rewiring of confusing messages that we've been given since childhood,
Hmm.
becoming aware of that. And let's say a person is trying to reward themselves and they start to think in a whole new light about this. This is a reward. This is something amazing. While the soda, if we even pour the soda on a plant that we care about, we would kill that plant in a matter of days instead of giving it water if we give it a soda. Yet we give it to children as a reward. It's 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 because all this advertising has told us this is a good life, this is a refreshing life with the soda, and it's completely not true. It's not benefiting our bodies. And actually, junk food shouldn't even be called food because it doesn't help to maintain our systems, doesn't help us grow in a good way, which is what food is all about. But but we've been programmed from early on in childhood not to understand this. So we blame ourselves when we overeat it, when our bodies are just responding in a natural way to the addictive food the way it's been designed to make us respond. This understanding actually takes a lot of the guilt and shame away when we overeat it, because we understand that's what it was designed to do. But if we, the more education about what's really good for us, and then we'll treat ourselves as more worthy people that deserve to get healthy food into our bodies instead of the junk.
The best, because we are worthy, we are going to nourish our body with the best food available. Yeah, one time, one of the mantras that I use is, my body is not a garbage bin. Because
Beautiful.
sometimes whatever is left over, sometimes, whatever is available, we just kind of put it in because, without thinking. And so
Yes.
just kind of thinking that, is this food like really good, nourishing food? Is it going to nourish my body, or
Yes.
is just the junk that I'm putting in a garbage bin? And my
Yes.
body is not a garbage bin, so I'm not going
Yes.
to treat it that way. And like you
Exactly.
said,
It's a
yeah,
very uplifting experience.
right. I think another, as we think about the reasons, one is, childhood programming, and then the body memory. So, like, you start remembering the flavors and tastes and stuff. I was talking to one of the friends, and she said, like, oh, when my kid was little, I used to feed them this thing. So they have now developed the taste for it. And so some of it, as we are parents, as we are kind of our family members, we can develop that taste for young people and help them prevent this problem as they grow up. Second thing is, again, limiting the amount of addiction prone food coming in our home, so then ourselves and our family members have less of the chances of eating that food. But when we go to parties, when we go to celebration, like kids go to school and the kind of food that they are getting over there, but sports and stuff, when the kids are getting together, what do they eat? And it's kind of hard to bring fresh fruits and vegetables. And even when we do bring it, like, in our office, if there's a fruit and vegetable tray, it remains half used. And then if there is, like, the junk foods, like, the donuts and the coffee and the sweets, they get eaten much faster. So what is your suggestion about how to overcome those attractions to
Yes.
them?
I actually see it changing. It used to be that way, but I find more and more the women are eating more of the healthy stuff. The children are still going for the junk food there at these parties, but I find that the women have developed the understanding more that they are eating more of the healthy foods that are being put out. And as this understanding grows, we're going to see changes happening. We've been, getting these messages for ages now, and it's like a small voices are saying the opposite view finally, and it's really important. One other thing we could do is socializing, like you were saying. So well, if it's okay, that comes up to the third level, doing something
Why don't we
meaningful.
jump to the third point?
Yeah.
Yeah, let me just kind of make the connection. So we were talking about why people overeat, or why we overeat, and the environmental and upbringing issues. But then we kind of went to, we also developed this sense of scarcity or emptiness, and then we are filling ourselves to fill up that emptiness
Yes.
with food.
Yes.
And to be able to overcome that emptiness, we can do other things like the pleasure ladder.
Exactly. It gives us, it takes us from that mindset of scarcity to a sense of abundance. Because why do we continue to stuff our faces after we've had a good, nutritious meal? Just because we want the pleasure to keep lasting. That's
So,
it.
yeah,
That's very understandable. We are creatures that want pleasure in life.
yeah,
So this gives us a very clear image of the abundance of pleasures we could bring into our lives at any moment besides the pleasure of food. And
wonderful, wonderful.
in my 600-pound life, it's a Netflix show. The people on the show, they all say the same thing. Food is the only thing bringing me pleasure. So that's it. Identify what brings you more pleasure than food.
Uh-huh.
Find those things and add
Wonderful.
them to your lives. We diets, restrictive diets only work for limited amount of times. They have like a 97% recidivism rate. People can't keep it up.
Uh,
Why? Because we don't want to stay restricted. We have to pour the joy into our lives that we can keep going forever. So how do we do that? That's what it's about, pouring more joy into your life, not less.
So you identified first physical pleasures, but
Right.
healthy physical pleasures,
Yes.
and then second was love,
Yes.
appreciating relationships,
Yes.
seeing good in others. And now we are
Yes.
going to talk about the third point. And so, what is the
Yes.
third letter? Yeah.
Thank you so much. The third level is doing something good and meaningful in the world. I was on another show when I got up to this point. The host said that the other day he had had two slices of pizza and he was about to plow through the rest of the whole box all by himself. He was sitting by himself at home. Someone knocks on his door. It's his neighbor. His neighbor needs his help for 2 minutes. He helps his neighbor. He comes back in. He doesn't want the rest of the pizza now. He can put the whole thing in the fridge. What has changed? He just filled himself up. He filled himself up doing something good and meaningful for someone else. And so the pizza wasn't calling his name in that loud voice like it was before. It's You can change in one moment just by filling up, doing something good and meaningful in the world.
That's
And
wonderful. Wonderful.
yes, giving back in gratitude.
Hmm.
And even higher than that, this is amazing. You wouldn't expect it, is being creative. Doing something creative, you get into a zone where you don't feel like eating or sleeping. When you're in that zone of creativity, you don't even know time is passing, because then you are giving back from this unique part of yourself into the world. So, this, and the highest level of all, is called transcendence. That is the greatest connection. Every level up is a deeper level of connection and involvement. Transcendence is when you transcend your own limitations. You make that first crack in a bad habit or an addiction. There's no feeling like that. It's also like when you're under the starry, starry skies at night and you feel like you're part of this greater universe. It's it's when you lift the veils of separation between everybody and everything, and we realize how we're all connected to each other and we're all connected to the same source energy. So this is available to us, these levels, and there's only one price to pay to climb the gratitude ladder. I mean, that's it. I gave it away by mistake. I meant the pleasure ladder, because the price that you have to pay is just gratitude. Gratitude is what fills us up. That's really the key to happiness.
That's wonderful. Wonderful. Enjoying all these blessings of life and be grateful for each at each level increases our sense of fulfillment and
Yes,
sense of joy. So then
yes,
we don't feel that emptiness that promotes the overeating.
exactly. You summarized it perfectly. That's exactly it.
Yeah, so that's great. You talked about five different steps of the pleasure ladder: the physical, the love, the meaning, the creativity, and the transcendence. That's wonderful. Now, if a person is like over here, where they have been stuck in this habit of overeating, and then they want to go to this place of having this fulfillment and this pleasure, they don't need to overeat. How do people make that journey? And what kind of obstacles have you seen people face?
Yes, wonderful. When you feel like overeating, ask yourself, is it my body that's hungry or my soul?
Mm,
Right away, the neurons that are firing in the back of your brain stem that are saying, I got to eat this, I got to finish the whole container of ice cream. the neurons will start traveling immediately up to your prefrontal cortex, and you'll say, "Oh, is it my body that's hungry or my soul?" You will know the answer right away. And then you will be able to think of all the different things you could do that could bring you pleasure in that moment instead of overeating. Because you know that you really want pleasure. It's not that you want the ice cream. Let's say you want more sweetness in your life. How could you bring more sweetness in your life? You could eat a sweet orange. You could leave a text for somebody saying, "That was so sweet what you did this time for me." You could do something sweet for someone else. You could do something creative that feels sweet. There's so many ways you can bring sweetness into your life instead of finishing up the whole tub of ice cream that some manufacturer wants you to do. So that's one thing. Or here's another question that I found helpful. If I eat 95 more spoonfuls of this ice cream, will I then be full? Because you know you'll feel just as empty, if not more empty than you felt before you started gorging on all this, the candy bars or the ice cream. A third thing, we always relapse. There'll always be times, we overeat, whatever. So be thankful if you had 10 candy bars, say, "I didn't have 50." Just celebrate whatever victory you have so you don't go into a state of misery. You can be grateful for wherever you are. Okay, I just had 50 candy bars. I didn't have 250. Celebrate any victory. And the last thing I want to say is chewing slowly gives you an opportunity to eat things with mindful gratitude. It's really boring when you first do it. You just like, you don't even fill up your next spoonful of something until you've completely chewed and swallowed what's in your mouth. You begin eating really slow if you can't prepare the next forkful until you've already swallowed what's in your mouth. And that gives you time to more mindfully eat with gratitude and have actually a spiritual kind of experience while you're eating. So these are all really helpful tips that I found and I've passed on to others and they've helped them. It completely changes your life so you are and living a more grateful life, one orange at a time, one raisin at a time. It's those small steps. Yes.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. Now, when I try to eat mindfully, and I just know the power. I've seen it helping a lot of people. And so let me just kind of summarize what is mindful eating for our listeners. So, mindfulness means being present in the moment, awareness of the moment, non judgmentally and intentionally. And when you're eating each bite with that full presence of awareness and enjoying each bite without passing judgment and observing it with curiosity and intentionally, that makes it or mindful eating. Now you are talking about mindful gratitude while eating, and so can you kind of expand how do you make the mindful eating to more mindful gratitude eating?
Yes. Just imagine, and you're experimenting with yourself. How do you feel after you finish the whole bag of potato chips? You are not filled with gratitude. I mean, I'm not, and I know other people. But let's say, you have a couple of oranges, you actually feel uplifted. I read a study that when people eat the fruits and vegetables, there's an actual chemical reaction of joy that happens inside of a person. We are designed to be uplifted by these natural foods. So just go out and try it yourself, and you'll see that it actually uplifts you. You are the best laboratory.
Wonderful, wonderful. Many times people kind of are so busy mentally thinking about something else that they forget to eat mindfully. And so, what suggestions do you have for them how to remember to eat mindfully?
That's great. I often do not eat mindfully. When I remember to, I do, but there's many times I'll eat lunch while I'm on the computer. And that's fine too. You don't always have to be experiencing mindful gratitude. I enjoy doing that. I enjoy not wasting time. I'm on the computer, I'm eating some popcorn, whatever. That's great too. But when you do it, it's a very enjoyable experience. I say a blessing beforehand and afterwards. It's kind of a please and thank you, and it helps me to develop more appreciation. But there's so many other ways that you could do it as well. Just being grateful for these incredible things that were made for us to enjoy with pleasure. We were put in this amazing garden. Our whole purpose for being here is to experience it with gratitude. That's really what it's all about.
Wonderful, wonderful. So we've been talking about a lot of great tools and tips that could help people overcome eating joyfully. If people want to learn more about your work and the wisdom that you share, how can they reach you?
Yeah, on my website, um, you can find all my books. So there's 41 children's books, and a lot of them are about how to live a healthy life. In addition to growing spiritually, there are books about let's stay healthy. Let's stay healthy. I even have books about swimming safely, books about disabilities, like all kinds. Oh, and books about prevention of abuse. Those are some of my most popular books because all of these help children's souls to shine more fully. And then there's the one book for adults is about my journey. That's my memoir.
Wonderful. So you can get all her books at her website, getzbookshop.com. That is GOETZBOOKSHOP.com. So getzbookshop.com. And then I'm also excited that she is sharing her gift, the pleasure letter list that she just talked about. And you can get that gift on our website by going to happyandhealthymind.com and pressing that resource button. If you sign up over there, you'll be able to get all the gifts that have been shared by our 108 wonderful guests on this program. So, thank you for supporting this program till now. If you would like us to send you reminders or resource link, and you are in US, you can also text us the word joyful, JOYFUL, to the number 38470, and we'd be happy to send you those links for reminders and resources. So let me leave you with this question. Every day is a new opportunity to make a change. What one thing you are going to choose today to change so that you can fill your life with joy and pleasure and prevent overeating that leads to guilt and shame and other physical and mental problems? Share with me. Start working on it as soon as you can, and it's your choice. If you choose to stay the way you are and keep the habit that has been developed, whether intentionally or unintentionally, that's your choice too. Choose wisely. Stay safe, happy, and healthy. Until next time, Dr. Rosina, and thank you, Bracha Goetz, for joining us today.